Disclaimer: this content is intended for mature audiences only. Viewer discretion is advised. It started on a rainy Sunday afternoon, the kind where the sky seems to match your mood. Emma stood by the window of their cozy New York apartment, arms crossed, her heart racing with frustration. Her husband, Al, was in the kitchen, casually scrolling through his phone like nothing was wrong. That's what stung the most, how calm he was when her world felt like it was falling apart. They had fought before, sure, but this time it felt different. There was a weight in the room, thick enough to choke on. Emma couldn't stop replaying his words from earlier, sharp like glass, but hidden beneath his usual calm charm. She had always loved his easygoing nature, but right now it only made her angrier. Al wasn't clueless, though. He knew she was mad, and he also knew why. It wasn't just about the dinner plans he had canceled last minute. It was about how she felt forgotten in a world that was supposed to be theirs. But instead of saying sorry, he leaned against the counter with that half-smile she used to fall for. "Emma, you're overthinking this," he said, his voice low, calm, frustratingly gentle. That's when she snapped, the words tumbling out faster than she could stop them. "Maybe if you actually cared, I wouldn't have to overthink everything." For a second, silence filled the space between them, louder than any shout. Emma turned to leave, heart pounding, but before she could take a step, Al crossed the room in one swift movement. His hand caught her wrist, firm but gentle. She froze, caught off guard by how close he was now. The world outside blurred as he pinned her softly against the wall, not in anger, but in something else. Something warmer. His eyes locked on hers, filled with an intensity that made her chest tighten. She had wanted a fight. But now, face to face with him, she wasn't so sure anymore. The air between them changed. Emma could feel it, the shift from frustration to something deeper, something scarier. Love has a way of showing up in the middle of a storm, messy and complicated, yet impossible to ignore. Al wasn't shouting. He wasn't defending himself. He was just there, close enough that she could feel his breath, steady and real. He whispered, softer now, "I hate it when we're like this." His words didn't fix everything, but they cracked something open inside her. For the first time that day, she wasn't sure if she wanted to leave or stay right there forever. And just like that, the moment hung between them, unresolved. Would she pull away and let the anger win? Or would she finally let herself fall into the arms she had been fighting against all along? Emma could feel her heart thudding against her ribs as she met his gaze, neither of them speaking for what felt like an eternity. Outside, the rain tapped softly against the glass, like the world was watching them, waiting to see who would make the next move. Al's hand stayed on her wrist, his touch warm but steady, grounding her in the middle of all the chaos spinning inside her. She wasn't used to this version of him, serious, intense, and unshaken by her anger. Usually, their arguments would end with one of them walking away, space filling the cracks between them until they both cooled down. But this time, he didn't let her go. Her mind flashed back to how this all started. Just 3 days ago, they were laughing over morning coffee, teasing each other about who would plan their weekend getaway. Emma had wanted something romantic, a little cabin, maybe, just the two of them, and no phones. But work got in the way, as it always did. Al had taken another late-night call, rescheduling their trip without telling her. He thought she wouldn't mind. But to her, it felt like a broken promise, another reminder that she wasn't his priority. And now, standing this close to him, she couldn't decide if she wanted to scream or melt into his arms. Al's voice broke the silence, low and careful. "You think I don't care, Em? You think I forgot why I chose you in the first place?" His words stung and soothed at the same time. Emma blinked, struggling to hold on to her anger. Why did he always do this? Make her feel like the bad guy for wanting more. But even in her frustration, she could see it, the way his shoulders tensed, the slight crack in his voice. Maybe he wasn't as calm as he looked. Maybe he was scared too. The apartment, once their safe place, now felt like a stage for all their unspoken hurts. The dishes in the sink, the untouched dinner on the stove, The photo of them from last summer smiling on the shelf, it all felt distant now. Emma wanted to ask him why he let things get this way. But instead, she stayed quiet, waiting for him to either step back or pull her closer. And in that pause, where neither of them knew what would happen next, something shifted. But whether it was enough to fix what was broken, or just another fleeting moment in their messy love story, well, that was still unclear. Emma finally broke the silence, her voice soft but edged with pain. Why does it always feel like I'm competing with your work, Al? Like I'm just here when it's convenient. Her words hung in the air between them, raw and vulnerable. Al sighed and ran a hand through his hair, stepping back just enough to give her space, but not enough to make her feel alone. He wanted to explain, but part of him didn't know where to start. His job at the law firm had always been demanding, but lately, the pressure to make partner had been eating away at their evenings, their weekends, their time together. He thought he was doing it for them, for a better future, but somewhere along the way, it started feeling like he was doing it alone. Emma, it's not about choosing between you and my work. It's about building something for us. But yeah, maybe I lost sight of what matters most in the process. His voice cracked slightly, but he steadied himself. She didn't answer right away, looking past him at the window where the rain still fell softly over the glowing city lights. For a moment, the only sound was the hum of traffic far below and the steady beat of the rain. What they didn't realize was that beneath their personal struggle, another layer of conflict was quietly unfolding. Emma had recently been offered a job herself, a teaching position across the country in California. It was something she hadn't told Elle about yet because deep down, she wasn't sure what his reaction would be. Would he support her dreams the way she had tried to support his? Or would it become yet another reason for them to drift further apart? Emma's mind spun with questions. Could they survive this distance between them emotionally and physically? Were they still fighting for the same future? She loved Al more than anything, but love wasn't always enough when both people were moving in different directions. And then there was Al's best friend, Jake, who had been quietly observing their struggles from the sidelines. Jake had always been protective of Emma, sometimes more than Al liked. Lately, his casual check-ins had turned into deeper conversations. Emma didn't mean for it to happen, but in moments when she felt most alone, Jake had been the one asking if she was okay. That was another thing she hadn't told Al, because what would he think? She could barely make sense of it herself. As Emma and Al stood there, the silence between them thick and heavy, neither of them noticed the unanswered text message flashing on Al's phone screen from his boss. Need you in Chicago next week. Can't wait. Another trip, another night apart. But that conversation was waiting for later. Right now, the only thing that mattered was this moment. Two hearts caught between love and frustration, clinging to something they both feared was slipping away. And still, neither of them made the next move. The night stretched on, full of questions that had no easy answers. Emma finally turned to face him, her eyes searching his like she was looking for the man she first fell in love with. What happens when love isn't enough, Al? What if we're holding on to something that's already slipping away? Her voice trembled, not from fear, but from years of loving too much and feeling like it wasn't enough. Al's jaw tightened, the weight of her words hitting him harder than any argument ever could. He took a step forward, close enough now to brush a strand of hair from her face, his fingers gentle, but his heart pounding like a drum in his chest. Then we fight for it, Emma, he whispered, his voice thick with emotion. I won't let you go without a fight. But even as he said it, doubt crept in. Would fighting be enough when their lives were pulling them in different directions? Just then, Emma's phone buzzed on the counter, snapping the tension like a crack of thunder. She hesitated before glancing at the screen. It was Jake again. A simple message. You okay? I'm here if you need to talk. Al caught the look on her face and followed her gaze to the phone. For a heartbeat, everything froze. His eyes darkened, not with jealousy, but something deeper fear. Fear that he wasn't the one she turned to when things got hard. Jake's been checking on you? His voice was low, steady, but sharp at the edges. Emma's chest tightened. She hadn't meant for this to become part of their story. Al, it's not what you think. He's just a friend. I needed someone to talk to when you were gone. The honesty in her voice made it worse somehow. Al stepped back, the distance between them suddenly feeling like a canyon. And then, as if the universe had timed it perfectly, Al's phone lit up too. The message from his boss, still unanswered. Flight leaves Monday. Chicago needs you. Emma saw it. She didn't need to ask. Another trip, another empty weekend, another reminder that his work always came first. The air was thick with everything unsaid. Emma felt tears prick her eyes, but forced them back. This wasn't the time for tears. It was the time for choices. For truth. Al looked at her, his chest rising and falling like he was holding back a storm. And, just like that, they stood there, two hearts on the edge of something that could break them forever or finally pull them back together. The silence between them was shattered by a sudden knock at the door. Both Emma and Al froze, their emotions still raw and tangled. Al glanced toward the door, confused, his brow furrowed. It was late, too late for visitors. Emma felt her stomach drop, already guessing who it might be. She stepped back, brushing past Al without a word, and opened the door slowly. Standing there, drenched from the rain, was Jake. His eyes flicked past Emma and landed on Al, reading the tension in the room like an open book. "Jake, what are you doing here?" Emma asked, her voice sharp with panic but softened by exhaustion. Jake pushed a hand through his wet hair, his tone calm but firm. "I saw your message earlier. You sounded upset. I was in the neighborhood and thought maybe you shouldn't be alone tonight." His gaze shifted between them, the tension thick enough to cut with a knife. Al's jaw clenched, a muscle ticking at his temple. He stepped forward, his voice low but steady. "She's not alone." Jake didn't flinch. "Yeah, could have fooled me." That was the breaking point. Emma raised her hands between them, trying to hold back the storm brewing in her living room. "Stop. Both of you. This isn't helping." Her voice cracked slightly, worn down by the weight of trying to hold everything together. Jake exhaled slowly, stepping back but not leaving. He looked at Emma, his eyes softer now. "I just want to make sure you're okay." But Al couldn't shake the feeling that this wasn't just about checking in anymore. Jake had feelings for Emma, feelings he'd probably been hiding for months. And now, standing in their apartment, he was making a play for the one thing Al thought was still his. And as if that wasn't enough, Emma's phone buzzed again. Another message, this time from the school district in California. "Final decision needed. Position starts in 2 weeks." She felt the blood drain from her face. She hadn't told either of them. Not about the offer. Not about her own doubts. Now the room felt even smaller, the walls closing in as all three of them stood there, tangled in secrets and choices waiting to be made. Al's phone vibrated in his pocket. Another message from his boss, confirming your trip. "Chicago expects you Monday morning." There they were, 2 tickets out of this mess. Emma could leave for California and start fresh. Al could escape to Chicago and bury himself in work. And Jake, well, Jake was standing right there, offering her a simpler path. But nothing felt simple anymore. The rain outside turned into a steady downpour, matching the storm in Emma's heart. She stood between the two men, caught in a moment that could change everything. Her chest tightened as she realized that no matter what choice she made, someone would be hurt. And just when she opened her mouth to speak, the power flickered, and the apartment fell into darkness. The sudden darkness pulled them all into silence. The only sound was the soft hum of the rain and their own ragged breaths. Emma's heart pounded in her chest, as if counting down the seconds of her decision. For a brief moment, no one moved. Then, Al broke the silence, his voice steady but full of quiet desperation. "Emma, if you walk away now, I won't stop you. But I need you to know. I was wrong. About everything. I put work first because I thought providing for our future meant more than being present now. I was scared you'd see how much I was failing to balance it all." Jake shifted uncomfortably in the shadows, his voice low but sincere. "Emma, I don't want to get between you two. But I can't keep pretending I don't care. I've seen how alone you felt, and maybe I shouldn't have come tonight. But I couldn't just sit back anymore. Emma felt the weight of their words, heavy like the storm outside. She stepped away from both of them, standing by the rain-drenched window, searching for clarity in the blurry city lights. This was her moment. California offered escape. Chicago offered distraction. But her heart was still standing in this room, broken but beating for the life she wanted to build, not run from. Taking a deep breath, she turned back to face them both. I don't want a life where I have to run from my problems. I love you, Al. But loving you doesn't mean losing myself. And Jake, thank you for caring, but this isn't your story to fix. Her voice was steady now, clear in the quiet apartment. Al's eyes softened, a mix of relief and regret washing over him. Then let's fix it together. No more trips, no more hiding. I'll tell my boss I'm staying. Chicago can wait. You can't. The tension broke like a thread snapping in the dark. For the first time in weeks, Emma smiled, small but real. She stepped into Al's arms, and for a moment, everything felt right again. But just as they held each other, her phone buzzed one last time. She glanced down, confused. It was an unknown number. The message read, California's not the only offer. Check your email. You deserve more than either of them. Emma's heart skipped a beat. Maybe the story wasn't over after all. Emma stared at the glowing message on her phone, the words twisting in her mind. For a moment, she wondered who could have sent it. But then she smiled softly, realizing something powerful. Her story didn't have to be defined by the choices of the two men standing in her apartment. It didn't have to be California or Chicago. For the first time in weeks, maybe months, Emma felt in control of her own life. She turned to Al, his arms still loosely wrapped around her waist. I'll take some time off too. I need to figure out what I want, Al. I can't keep losing myself in your plans or anyone else's. Al's face fell slightly, but then softened with understanding. I'll be here when you're ready, Em. Whether that means together, or waiting for you to find your own way. His voice cracked but remained steady. This was what love really looked like, not possession, but freedom. Jake gave a small, bittersweet smile and slipped his hands into his jacket pockets. Guess that's my cue. He walked toward the door, pausing to look at Emma one last time. Take care of yourself, Emma. And if you ever need a friend, you know where to find me. He gave Al a nod before quietly slipping into the rain-soaked night. The apartment felt quiet again, but this time it was peaceful, not tense. Emma took a deep breath, feeling the weight of all her decisions finally settling into clarity. She wasn't leaving tomorrow. Maybe not for a while. First, she had to reconnect with herself, the Emma who laughed easily and loved fiercely, not the one always waiting for someone else to fix things. Al squeezed her hand gently. How about we start fresh? No Chicago. No fights. Just dinner tonight and maybe a walk in the rain like we used to. Emma smiled, the kind of smile that felt like home. I'd like that. As the rain softened outside, Emma looked around their small apartment, the place filled with memories, arguments, love, and hope. Their story wasn't perfect, but maybe that's what made it real. And somewhere deep down, she knew this was only the end of one chapter. If you enjoyed this story, tell us in the comments what you think Emma should do next. Should there be a sequel? Should she take the mystery offer? Or should she build a new chapter with Al? Drop your thoughts below and don't forget to like and subscribe if you want more love stories with a twist.